welcome to this week's episode of I've Been Playing. So, before we dive right in with what I've been playing this week mostly, I wanted to give you a couple of updates on games we've talked about in the past. First of all, as I've said before, I've still been playing Animal Crossing every single day, even though it's kind of gone from playing several hours a day to playing like half an hour tops. But saying that, this week, or this Saturday specifically, I spent quite a lot of time cleaning up my island and making things nice and making new areas. So I made a little flower garden to kind of try to get the flowers that I don't have yet, the colors of flowers that I don't have yet. I spent a lot of time redistributing flowers all over the island. I gave some of my villagers actual yards, not that the game counts them as yards really, but I built fences for them. Some of them I still need to build some fences. A lot of fences to fence in a lot of the villagers in kind of, personal areas, quote unquote, again, not that the game recognizes that, but I finally got a 5-star rating, finally, and all it took was putting in a flower garden, apparently, because as soon as I did that, I had a 5-star rating. I was that close for so long, and I was just too lazy to do it, but it looks nice, and I'm happy with what I've done. The rest of the work with that, I think, is going to mainly be lining the streets with the flowers that I displaced and now have nothing to do with. But the problem is I want to make it like a pattern, right? It has to be consistent and uniform in some capacity, or there has to be a pattern, and I don't have enough flowers to make a consistent pattern everywhere all the time, and it bothers me. But that's a work in progress, and I'll figure it out, and eventually I will have the flowers that I need. Secondly, we've talked about Bloodborne before, and I'm really tempted to show you the entire clip of this, but it is very, very long. Maybe I'll stick it at the end if you want to stick around to see how I beat this. But I finally finished the Lawrence boss fight. Finally. It took me legitimately 3 weekends. It took a lot of farming. I had like 120 blood vials, and I lost most of them and had to reform for blood echoes and get and blood vials and buy some more. And even as it was, you'll see in the clip I'm playing right now, because I am going to be playing a little bit of it over this talk, you'll see there are several times where I get very, very, very close to death, and that happened a lot. And I don't know what it is about that fight, because as I said last time we were talking about it, it's just like the cleric beast, but it's on fire. But for some reason, maybe because the DLC is so difficult compared to the rest of the game, and that's saying something because it's Bloodborne, it's a Soulsborne game, and it is hard, that it just felt ridiculously unfair. Normally those games don't feel unfair because they're balanced pretty well, at least the ones I've played. Or at least Bloodborne. I haven't finished any other Soulsborne games. I've played Dark Souls, I've played Sekiro. I have yet to finish them. I also own Dark Souls 2, and I will get around to that after I finish the 3 I'm playing right now. But what was I saying? Yes, it felt a little unfair. I don't think it actually was. I think I just was bad at it. But the first 2 phases were fairly easy to do. It was the last phase where he's spewing lava out of various places, which sounds gross, but I mean that's what's happening. He's spewing lava out of himself. That phase just absolutely wrecked me almost every time, and I'm so glad that I finished it, and I never have to play the DLC again, because I am on track to get all of the trophies for the DLC, and much as I've enjoyed the DLC, I don't know if I'm gonna play it again, because it is hard. Next thing I want to talk about is the thing that pretty much everyone has been playing, and if you have had any connection to games at all in the past month, I think it's been out, it's been a couple of weeks at least, I just hopped on the bandwagon, is Fall Guys. Everyone is playing Fall Guys, and it is so much fun. I'm so bad at it. If you somehow don't know what it is, if you're, don't watch as much gaming stuff as I do, or aren't as, into keeping up with games or whatever, Fall Guys is essentially what we called here in the US anyway, MXC, which is technically known as Takeshi's Castle. It's from Japan. It's also like kind of the Wipeout or those kinds of quote-unquote athletic obstacle course game shows. Some of them are more athletically oriented than others. You don't have to be strong for all of them, don't get me wrong, but some of them are more specifically tailored to athletes, you know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things, but you're like a little jelly bean person. So I've been playing a lot of that. I played several hours of it on Friday night, and I just couldn't stop because I was like, just one more, I just gotta get one more prize. I have not won yet. I have gotten to the last round, I think, twice. I was very, very close once. Very close. And both times they were basically my own fault because I started to panic because there were only like 3 people left, and then I ruined it for myself. So that was fun. So there's not much to say about that, really, and you've probably seen it elsewhere. It's fairly self-explanatory, watching footage and seeing what it is. You unlock stuff. There are seasons in this one too. I don't know why video games have started doing seasons. It's dumb, but you know what? You do you. It's very fun. I'm not into the other like seasonal games, any of them, but it is fun. It's fun. It's fun because there are obviously trolls and stuff like that and hackers on the PC version apparently, but a lot of the gameplay is very just like wholesome. People are generally okay and nice, and it's just so ridiculous and random. There's no possible way to predict who's going to win, not really. Some people are going to tell you that you can probably predict or game it some way, like more tailor it more towards you winning versus not, but I know. They're lying. It's just completely random, and it's a lot of fun. So the other thing I've been playing mostly this weekend is called Maneater, which is very hard to say without singing the entire song, or at least the chorus. You know the one I'm talking about. It is very hard. It's going in my head right now, and I'm sure it is yours. I'm gonna spare you that. It's kind of like the other game that came out on Thursday, which I don't have, and I haven't quite made up my mind whether I want to play it or not. It's called Tell Me Why, which, as someone who grew up in the 90s, is very hard to say and not sing. So basically, I'm pretty sure they called this themselves. It's a shark PG, otherwise known as you play as a shark and you are in an RPG game because you have upgrades and equipable body parts essentially, and you upgrade that, you eat things for resources, you use those resources to gain more powers. It's not really powers exactly, it's just buffs and stuff like that you get from the resources you get from specific fish and humans, of course, because the whole point is to be a massive jerk to everyone, basically, and just tear through humans, which, I mean, don't we all just want to be a shark eating through humans? Sometimes, some days, just me. So from what I can tell so far, it's a pretty short game. I was only playing for probably 4 to 5 hours, which sounds like a long time, but there are a bunch of collectibles and stuff, and that's what I was doing, and a lot of time was taken up for that. The main story, I don't think, would really take you all that long. It's really silly, it's kind of fun, because it's just ridiculous and completely over the top, and it's great to you can like basically fly, because you can double and triple, and I assume after you level up enough, or grow up enough, that you can probably do quadruple jumps, or just you're so massive, you basically jump out of the water once and destroy cities. And it's just fun to go through and tear through things. Not that you'll immediately tear through everything, because you start as the little baby shark. Don't. And you destroy things as you go along, and you have to build up and build up, so you gain levels, of course. As I said, it's an RPG, you earn levels, and you grow with each level, and eventually you become an adult shark, and then an older shark, and then the last phase of sharkdom is called Mega, which is why I assume you might just grow massive enough to destroy cities in one go, because you're called Mega. So as you build that up, you're able to destroy, because the enemies obviously also have levels, so some of them are tougher when you're a little shark, as opposed to when you come back and wreck them up as an adult shark. Fun as it is, though, the controls are really ridiculously hard to use. You'll see from the footage that I'm playing now that there's a lock on, but it doesn't work. It only locks on when you're focused on the thing, and then when you try to when you try to lock onto something, sometimes it locks onto something behind you, because it locks onto the most relevant predator instead of what you actually want to attack sometimes, and the camera is flailing all over the place, and sometimes the buttons just seem to work when they want to, not when you want them to. It's very hectic and hard to control, and that is probably the most frustrating thing to me, is that it feels like I'm basically not even controlling it, because I jump and try to attack a human on a boat and it doesn't latch on, and I just jump over them, or like I jump onto a boat, like just physically to flap around as a shark, and I don't hit anything, don't hit anybody, barely hit the boat, and the dodge doesn't seem to work sometimes, like they can hit me but I can't hit them, and it is extremely confusing and chaotic sometimes. That's the one major thing that's keeping me from completely enjoying myself. One other thing I would say is that it is a little bit repetitive. Obviously there's only so much you can do as a shark, and a lot of the things you do to progress the story are go to an area, kill a certain number of humans, kill a certain number of, the latest one I had to do was parrotfish, and then get a certain infamy level, and then defeat the boss, and then defeat the alpha predator in the area, and then move to the next one and do it all over again. And that's a lot of objectives, first of all. They don't actually take as long as they sound like they would take. As I said, it's not a particularly long game, and it would be even shorter if I wasn't chasing all of the collectibles. But it's very repetitive. It is very repetitive. And I don't think that's a bad thing, necessarily. Maybe because it's so short, or because it moves so quickly, or some combination of the two. It feels more repetitive than it may otherwise, I think. But, that said, I have progressed far enough in the story that I have some amazing looking skin and genetic modifications, and I look like a badass ghost shark, and it is awesome. Well, that's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed that. Stick around if you want to see that full Bloodborne clip. I'm gonna post it, or tack it on the end here, whatever the appropriate word is. It'll be after this. And I hope you enjoy that, I hope you watch that, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for joining me once again for this I've Been Playing. We will see you next Monday, because I post these every Monday, and have a good one. Bye!